I mean, but up until that point, it had been quite difficult for us, obviously, writing an album in the middle of a fucking pandemic. I think everybody was in the same boat. So typically we would, Gunsey'd fling some ideas around, Gunsey and Stephen. And then maybe once we had 3 or 4 songs down, we would all go and get in a room together. And that's when we start hashing out the structures and stuff like that. And we start playing with the songs. But because of lockdown, we didn't have the luxury of that. The Lodge was really our only chance to get together and kind of work through the ideas that we had. Obviously, we didn't have a drum kit up there.
Welcome back to the Headbangers podcast, where your hosts Nathan and Brad. Here today we're joined by Ali from Bleed From Within. How are you doing, man, to start off with?
Aye, very good. This is the last interview of the day, so I've cracked a wee beer to celebrate. And looking
Everyone's
forward.
got beers but me. I should have brought one. Everyone's got beers but me, because Nathan's brought some craft beers as well.
Oh, mate. Yeah. Unfortunately, this isn't very, this is just a wee Australia. I'm usually in about the crafties, but just keeping it easy now. I've spent too much money on that shit, so...
Yeah, literally just before you joined, I cracked it open and it just exploded all over my monitor.
Yeah.
I just had to quickly wipe it off.
Brilliant.
I've got Alliance by the beer company. It's pretty nice.
Ooh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Nice little Christmas present that I've had in my fridge for quite a while.
You've had that since Christmas? That's amazing. Incredible.
Gone.
Mate, just trying to clear out my fridge from the amount of beer that I got at Christmas. Like, it was ridiculous. It got to a point where I'm like, right, now I can bring the crate from work.
I mean, to be fair, I've still got some stuff from my birthday last year, I think. I don't know how that's kind of survived. It's in the back of the cupboard, kind of hiding from me, but yeah, I'll need to see that off now that
I'm impressed with the restraint, guys, to be honest, because it would be gone if it was me. Right. I want to start with like a little icebreaker. What's your funniest tour story that you can recall?
Oh God, you're asking the wrong guy for this. I forget everything as soon as it happens. I've been asked this before on this sort of press cycle, and I was like, oh, I honestly couldn't tell you. I guess this is the first thing that came to mind, right? So I used to play with a little fan, a drum fan that would sit in front of the kit. Most drummers had it behind them, a kind of blowing up at them sort of thing, but my ponytail would always just end up sort of flapping like this if I had it behind me. So I always had to sit it in front of me, so it was just getting me in the face. And on the smaller stages, like our singer Kennedy famously has quite a toxic arse and has really bad farts. And what would happen is Kennedy would be standing right at the back of the fan, and then it would just get accelerated right into my face. No. There was one time that nearly brought me to tears, and I was nearly sick on stage. So there's a funny story for you. Other than that, I don't know what else I could share. Really, I think it's the stuff that goes on that isn't really shared.
That's quite unique, to be honest. I'll give you that one.
I absolutely love that. I hope he sees this.
To be fair, we've always had like one thing like trend that we notice when we ask the question is it always involves piss or shit. It's really weird, but it's like the first one that includes like farts.
With that being said, one of our was it my drum tech? I think it was young Logan. I think he accidentally drank a bottle of piss once, just waking up hungover on the van, and he thought it was water, and he had a swig of that. So again, sorry, Logan. I'm pretty sure it was him. It was somebody that has made that mistake. So there you go. There's some farts and there's some piss, and then that's me.
Thank you. You've ticked all our check boxes, so thank you.
Yeah, so I kind of want to obviously jump into the writing of the album. I did notice on your Instagram that you guys obviously went to the Scottish Highlands and did a bit of writing there in a little cabin. You can sort of bring me through, like, talk us through that sort of process being in that cabin and what the experience was like overall.
I mean, but up until that point, it had been quite difficult for us, obviously, writing an album in the middle of a fucking pandemic. I think everybody was in the same boat. So typically we would, Gunsey'd fling some ideas around, Gunsey and Stephen. And then maybe once we had 3 or 4 songs down, we would all go and get in a room together. And that's when we start hashing out the structures and stuff like that. And we start playing with the songs. But because of lockdown, we didn't have the luxury of that. The Lodge was really our only chance to get together and kind of work through the ideas that we had. Obviously, we didn't have a drum kit up there, but it was kind of, Stephen had a studio set up at the top of the lodge, and then Gunsy was kind of set up in the living room. I was kind of in the kitchen with just the laptop programming drums to what they were writing, and Davey was tracking stuff as well, and Kennedy was doing some vocals at the same time. So we had about 3 days there, and that's when we really kind of what would the word be, like sort of honed in on the sound of the album sort of thing. Up until that point, it had been quite scattered, and there were loads of riffs and loads of ideas, but that was the first time that restrictions had been sort of loose enough for us to go and get together and really sort of hone in on the sound. And I think the last thing we did before we left in the morning, we sort of packed everything up, and then we sat and went, right, let's listen to all the songs, just start to finish, the 10 demos I think we had at that point. And that's when we really sort of got a scope on, right, what's missing, what is it we want to change, and where are we going to go. So that was definitely a turning point in the writing process.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like it probably helped as well, just sort of being in the same room and being like able to like hash it out and like sort of go, well, this is my idea, like, because I you know, like, from
But there was that.
well, even just be, you know, like obviously over COVID, like we felt it on the podcast where, because we were never really seeing each other because we was in our houses constantly, sort of like figuring stuff out proved very difficult, because it was like, is he going to see the message? What's it stuff like that. So I feel like just being in the room has probably really helped.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, that's the way that we work as a band. We've always sort of fed off each other's energy and just being face to face and being in the same room and stuff like that. So, like I said, that was really our chance to kind of hone in, for all of us to say our piece and really focus on, you know, the first sort of lyrics coming together, the first kind of vocal demos coming together, and really get a feel for what the album was going to be about.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I just like a weightlifted as well. Like, you know, when you just finally got to play together, a lot of aggression to let out.
Definitely, that was kind of like that's when you started to see some sense of normality maybe coming back after COVID, you know. So it was kind of like, oh, we're all here together. Fucking hell, this is great.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think like I think as well, like obviously you mentioned lyrics. I find like, I think it's a lot easier, as a band, when you're writing and you're coming up with lyrics, like if you've got the band there in a way, because there's certain lines that like because I obviously I do vocals myself, that, you know, like you guitarist might just go, oh, we'll say that, and you're there like, well, I wouldn't have thought of that, but it fits there. So I feel like just having people around, especially if you're going through like obviously vocal patterns and writing lyrics, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. So like it's just better to spitball ideas in person, I feel.
Definitely. I mean, that was the interesting thing about this album, though. Like we were having to do that digitally so much that it was the first time we'd had to do that. So as soon as you were getting, you know, when we were getting demos in from Gunsy or Stephen or whoever, that's when we were kind of like, right, I would go out on a walk in the morning and listen to the demos and take notes on that, and then get it back to him straight away and be like, right, these are the changes. This is what I think should be going on there. And me and Kennedy were on Zoom quite regularly, just going through the lyrics and vocal placements and stuff. And it's the first time that we'd had to do it like that, but you obviously didn't have a choice. So it was definitely a different way of working towards it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I want to say, obviously, before we started it, you know, I love this album. I've been a fan. I kind of clocked in during the era time, and like I just fell in love with that album. And then Fracture was amazing. I feel like that's when you guys cemented your sound. You know, you brought in all these like amazing drum patterns, but epic vocal lines, and I think it's followed through on this. And I read that you guys described it as a trilogy from era. You know, from era to Fracture to the obviously Shrine now. How would you describe this album to the people about to listen to it? You know, what would be your elevator pitch for it?
It's fucking better than the other ones. to put it simply, and that's just objectively. Do you know what I mean? It's not even a case of opinion. I think at this point, it is just we've learned so much about ourselves and each other, and what it is that we're trying to create here, and what Bleed From Within actually is as a band. And that's really what we've been doing. And like the trilogy thing that you mentioned, I think that was just me sort of spitballing some shit on an interview over the last couple of weeks, but it made sense. Do you know what I mean? And it's definitely like, era was us coming back after being away for a while. Fracture, we developed that sound further, and then Shrine is just sort of that on steroids and really cementing the sound that we've been working towards. And like Davey doing the artwork for all three as well, and the progression through the color schemes and stuff, and the production as well, just taking such a jump from album to album. And that's what it's felt like to me throughout this process. So Yeah, I mean, Shrine is just a development of the sound that, you know, if you were a fan of Fracture and you were a fan of Vera, we've taken what's been touched on there, and we've really gone to town on it. We've developed it, we've solidified it, and it's came out the other end just a completely different beast. It is now sounding how we've kind of wanted to sound in our head for quite a while, but you know, there's still, you know, Shrine kind of embodies that, recognizing what we've done 17 fucking years as a band now, and recognizing that and respecting that, but then also respecting how far we've still to go and how far we want to go and how far we want to take this. And Shrine is just marking this point, really, and being proud of what we've achieved, but recognizing the sort of the work that we've yet to put in. So that's what it's about. And musically, it's just better than the other ones. So go and fucking buy it and enjoy yourself.
It feels like that though. It feels like, you know, you really have, like, you're proud of your sound, and I can see some like new parts creeping in there as well. It feels like definitely the most like progressive as well that I think you guys have sounded. A lot of like orchestral sounds thrown in, which obviously Nathan knows. I do love some of them. It always makes the song sound even better. So love it.
Yeah, I mean that was stuff that we've been toying with for fucking years, man. I think even back to like the second album, Empire, we had kind of MIDI fucking keyboard shit going on, and Uprising, we started to bring in the choirs and synths and pads and stuff in the backgrounds. But it's so prominent in this because we actually had somebody come in and compose, you know, to actually make an arrangement for it, and we had paid for a string quartet to go in there and track the parts. And you're not going to bury stuff there if it actually sounds that good. Some of the parts have been layered up, so it's like you've basically got a fucking mini orchestra there or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, we wanted to push that to the forefront, and it was funny hearing people be like, "Oh, you've got strings now," and it's like they've been there since 2012, but you've just not really heard them because it was fucking shitty MIDI samples or whatever that we've just done ourselves. But having someone come in and go to town on it like this was just amazing, and it added so much to so many parts. I mean, like the end of Flesh and Stone was amazing before, but then it's just got this orchestral build through at the end, like the whole symphonic element to it. It was just like, fuck me. Do you know what I mean? Like it just added. It
sounds massive.
Yeah, so that was great. Seeing all that stuff come together was really fun.
Oh yeah, and you know, when we on you sort of point that you did like you had earlier, where you also mentioned that it's just sort of building from what came before. That is definitely like a vibe I got when I was listening to the album, because I was sat there going, all the like elements you saw in Fracture are just built upon in Shrine so well, and they all really have found like their place with obviously your sound. So I thought it was a really, really good watch, and I really like how listen. But I really liked. I also just really like seeing your progression as a band. Like obviously from listening to, you know, your first album all the way up to this, you can really hear the elements were there, and it's, you know, like you piecing it together. So I thought it was really interesting.
Amazing, man. That's cool that you noticed. And yeah, I think that's, you know, we wear that on our sleeves. Do you know what I mean? And it's we are who we are in that sense. And I think it's, well, there's not an ego between us in that sense. We're not trying to be anybody else, and I think we're just developing on that sound. I think moving forwards and setting the bar that we set for ourselves, like it's the next album that I'm so excited about already, knowing what we've done here and knowing that we will push this further, but there's also like talk of going in other directions now and sort of seeing what we can push. Maybe we want to go faster and experiment more with the blast beats and just see what we can push in that side, and but also looking at the kind of more melodic parts and just seeing how we can marry like that aggression and that speed with melody and the sort of symphonic parts, and being like, well, why don't we take a departure from that and just take a departure from what we've built here, and where could we go there, and go back to the reason that we started doing all this stuff. And yeah, it's a really exciting time, man, to be honest. We're very inspired at the moment, and just loving what's going on.
Oh yeah, I also want to kind of go into your music videos as well, because I feel like one of my favorite music videos from you guys is the music video for Stand Down. Obviously it was released recently. It looks like it was quite fun to shoot from some of the behind the scenes that I've seen. But can you sort of take us through the creative process of that music video as well?
Yeah, that video was a fucking nightmare. I'm not gonna lie.
Whenever we speak about music videos, that's all what bands say. Like, no, that was a fucking nightmare. That
Honestly, I mean, it's brutal, man. Like, it's funny, right? I live in Brighton now, and there's a little enterprise car hire place down the road, and that's where I rent my car. Whenever I have to go back to Glasgow for anything, I go and rent a van and drive up the road. And because I've been going there so much over the last sort of year and a half or whatever, we're on first name terms. They know I'm in a band and all that, and they're like, "Oh, there's Ali from Blade from Within." You're like, "All right, brilliant." And now it's like, whenever I said I was going back for a music video, the guy that works there was like, "That's amazing! Oh, it's so cool!" And I'm like, "It's honestly a fucking pain in the arse, man." I was like, "I need to play the same song 20 times. You're there for 12 hours. It's bloody freezing at the time that we were shooting the videos and stuff. You know, you're doing it for something cool. Obviously, you're never going to complain about it that much, but you're like, man, it's really not all it's cracked up to be. It's not." I think he's thinking of, like, you know, on a yacht somewhere in the fucking Bahamas. Like, that's really not what we're doing here. But yeah, the stand down video. So that was an idea that I had ages ago about just a prison riot. The song, it was a song that I wrote the lyrics for, and it was basically, it's just about conflict, human conflict at that. And sort of some of the divisive things that's all unfolded in front of our eyes over the last, basically during the pandemic, when you were stuck there and you were getting everything through the TV and just seeing some of the shit that fucking happened, man, especially in America. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. So this was just me being really fucking raging at the world and some of these fucking plonkers, you know what I mean? And yeah, I really wanted to try and convey that idea of conflict and do it in an artistic way. I explained my idea to Gunzi. He does a lot of the sort of, looks after the sort of visual side of the band. So I was like, this is my idea. What do you think? And he's like, well, how practical is A, B, and C? And I was like, well, I don't fucking know. How would you do it? And then he had the idea of like doing it one shot. And I'm like, that sounds fucking brilliant. Let's try and do that. And then together with Tom Armstrong, who's been our video guy now for fuck knows how long, basically sort of penned the idea for this. And then, did it all ourselves. So no production company or whatever. We got 20 extras in, COVID officer and fucking, you know, catering and all the carry on, venue hire. So I think there was about 34 people on set or something on the day, which is the first time we've done anything of that size. But just trying to orchestrate that amount of people, and we had like a fight choreographer there and stuff, just to try and make the altercations look real. All the police uniforms were actual police uniforms from this rental place, and I mean, it was a really cool process. It was stressful to get done. The first time we were going to shoot it, Kennedy got COVID in the morning of the shoot, so we had to reschedule it for 3 weeks later. But we're obviously to a deadline with the album coming out, so it was all a bit of a mishmash to try and get it done in time. But we got there. So shout out to Tom, our video guy and director of that video. Shout out to Gunzi as always, and I'm glad he's enjoyed it. It was fun, and it was cool to see everyone's response to it when it was released.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed watching it. I thought it was really interesting. It's also crazy, like, sort of hearing, like, obviously that, you know, you wrote the song when we were in COVID, and like it felt like there's so much shit going on, because like
still relevant now as well.
I had that sort of same feeling as well, because I felt like it, you know, like during lockdown, everything was amplified because you was in your house constantly. There was nothing to do but look at your phone. And me and my friend Dylan, we have like a running joke where like 11 o'clock every night, and it's been like this since COVID, that it's political hour, where it's like all the stress and anger that we've had like read about through the day, we just rant to each other. It's like, yeah, these fucking bastards are doing. Shit like
I couldn't believe some of the shit, man. It was like, I think that song was mainly inspired by like the sort of, you know, the death of George Floyd and stuff, and I couldn't believe that when the video was going around, man. And and then, you know, people, Black Lives Matter, which we obviously supported, and we put out a statement together, just being like, we obviously support this movement, and it has, if it wasn't clear before, then any racist behavior is not tolerated at our fucking shows. Absolutely. If that happens, you are fucking out, and you're not a fan of this band, and you clearly don't know us as people, where you haven't paid attention to anything that we've done. And like the Capitol Hill riots, like all that stuff, you just, what the fuck's going on? And then, you know, going into this year, at the time that the song was released, you've got fucking Ukraine and Putin going on, and it was like, what is happening? Like, And I think talking to some fans and stuff, and just seeing the stuff online, I think people they understood what was going on, and it resonated with them. Even though the song, I had no idea about Ukraine and that was going to happen at that time. And I think everyone's personal, not even personal, but battles that they've had and struggles that they've sort of had to deal with by witnessing this stuff unfold on the TV in front of them. I think people kind of got the idea. And it wasn't that the song was anti-police in any way. I know it's a police uniform. The idea was just to show conflict, really. There was like a bit more of the plot that we didn't have time to film on the day that would have maybe resolved it a little bit better for folk. But the idea was that at the end, everyone is human. There's a resolution to be found somewhere. Get on the fucking path. Do you know what I mean? And just it was wild times, man, for everyone.
Oh yeah, there's such value to the video though. Like that even if it was made 2 years ago or 5 years from now, that is still so relevant. There's things. Yeah. It's just been an absolute mad 3 years, and I can't believe the things I've seen. Like, obviously there's been some crazy stuff that's gone on throughout everyone's lifetime, but it just felt like for some reason in these 3 years we've just seen like the extent of what humans' behaviors can be.
Totally, mate.
It seems to get worse. So I don't know.
The other one was just like COVID deniers. Do you know what I mean? I was like, if you don't want to get a vaccine, that's fine. Like, just fucking do your thing. It's your body, your thing. Keep it to yourself, right? But saying that it doesn't fucking exist, get a grip.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
I've had it. I had it. It fucking exists. Like,
I fucking had it. Everyone had it. Like, I knew people who'd fucking suffered massively from it. Like, my brother's got long COVID, still struggling, and it was like people that were just saying it doesn't exist. And David Icke got it and gave his fucking speeches. I was just, oh man, I was so tired at that point. I was like, you are all daft as fuck. Like, that is just,
absolutely ridiculous.
I feel like we saw like some of the easily the worst aspects of like human behavior like during those 2 years, like especially on your point about the obviously the BLM movement. I was genuinely shocked when all that was going on, that it was like a dividing topic. It's like, how can you be divided on that?
Yeah, it can't
like,
be.
I saw a brilliant.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know. There was a brilliant piece by a black comedian. I can't remember his name now. Colin Geddes was talking about it. I don't know if you know Colin Geddes. The guy.
I think I've seen the bit you're on about as well. Yeah,
where he's talking about Ched Hanks.
Oh wait, no.
He's talking about him, but he references this comedic piece anyway that I watched a bit of. I just can't remember the guy's name. I think it's Ched Hanks. I can't even remember. Anyway, but this guy's sort of bit of his sketch, right? This black comedian. He's like, Black lives matter, and he's like, that's what we're saying. Like, matter. He's like, not this, not that. They just matter, And when you think about, like, that's that guy's sketch, right? But then you think about the other side that came back to that, to like, well, white lives matter, and this. It's like, who's saying that they don't matter?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how could I didn't understand how the BLM movement could be met with oppression in any way. It really blew my mind. How can anyone be against that idea and that thought process?
I think it comes from like a lack of understanding, you know what I mean? It's like
totally.
People are so quick to say something. I'm just like, well, it's not if you say all lives matter, you're just sort of just diminishing it. Like you just acting like it doesn't matter when it's like, obviously it does, but there's not an oppression of white people. So I'm like, oh, shut up.
It's like, it's like all lives don't have to worry about, being profiled for the color of the skin. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like that's the thing. Like that is like the most important part about it. It's like, as a white guy, I don't have to worry about walking.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You feel helpless as a white male in the UK. You're like fucking spoiled rotten in that sense. We did you do the Blackout Tuesday. You make a speech about it. You try and donate to the right causes and just make your stance known, and then carry that moving forward. Stamp out racism if you ever see it anywhere, and be on the right side in that sense. But outside of that, it's hard. You're just inherently fucking privileged, like you said. You've never had to deal with that, and you'll never understand what it's like. So yeah, stand down. Anyone against that song's about you.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
absolutely.
I just find it disgusting that we live in a time where it's still like racism still exists. It's like,
yeah,
in the like right now where we've got all the technology in the world and everything like that, where we can really educate ourselves into not thinking in such a narrow-minded perspective, why do people still choose to have that narrow-minded perspective? Like, it's just like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, at the end of the day, we're all literally bags of blood. It doesn't matter whether, you know, you even politically, if you're on the left, if you're on the right, if you're, you know, in any way, shape, or form, we are still bags of blood, and we should still care for one another, because we all share that same dynamic. We are all people, and we're all on the same fucking planet. So rather than argue the toss about shit, like, or just judge people just based off a single difference from yourself, why don't you just care about them, like, rather than
look for the similarities,
harboring
not
all
the
this hate
differences.
inside? I just find it disgusting. Like, I feel like anyone that thinks like that, seriously, do them, like, they should do themselves a favor and educate themselves.
Yeah,
Just,
I mean, that's it as well. I think there's just a lot of hate in the world, you know, and that was another part of that song, just recognizing that that's the conflict and divide that's there, and you know, it just seems to have been exaggerated. Is that the word? Exaggerated? It's just you know, yeah, I think that's the word. But in COVID, you know, during COVID, everyone locked in the house, it just seems to have blown up a bit, and seems to be more hate than ever. So,
oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, on a lighter turn, obviously you do drum for two, not one, but two of some of the best bands of this generation, including Sylosis as well. Massive fan. So I want to ask, like, you know, do you think like you transfer things from like one band to another? So, you know, if you like maybe pick up some techniques for Sylosis, do you transfer that from Bleed From Within, or vice versa? Like, do you feel like the two sort of combine for you sometimes, or you pick up things in that sense?
No, I think they're very different bands. I think that's quite hard to explain to somebody that maybe A, doesn't know the genre, or B, isn't a drummer. You know, I think it's hard to, because on the surface of, I play for two metal bands. But I think I see them as being very different. I think I've got different jobs to fulfill in each one. I think Bleed From Within is a lot kind of groovier, stop-starty, I guess more technical parts on the drums wise, and with Sylosis, I kind of hold the guitars, play more of the guitars, or I play more off of them, and hold things together whilst they do their thing. You know, it's very much more, I see it more guitar driven in Sylosis in that sense. So yeah, I think I'm getting something delivered here, by the way, so I might have to go and just grab this.
No worries.
No worries.
Sorry. Hello, mate. Oh, I was going to actually ask you if someone done. No worries. Cheers, one. See you later. Yeah, fucking Amazon. There we go.
Bleed From Within for Amazon. Little guest cameo.
Feeding the corporate beast. So I think there is a big difference between the drumming sort of approach that I have to both bands, and I think naturally there probably is a bit of carryover, you know. But I don't think about it too much, and you know, getting to work with amazing songwriters like Josh and Gunsy and Stephen and that, and they always keep me on my toes, and there's always fresh stuff for me to be playing off. So, yeah, I guess.
Is it hard to balance like between the two? Because obviously the two pretty mega bands. Like, do you find it hard to like find the time for both of them, or you just like make it work of like calendars and all that kind of stuff?
Touchwood, up until this point, it's been pretty good. We've been on opposite album cycles, and obviously ever since Josh joined Architects, that's kept him pretty busy. So my focus has just been purely on Bleeds, really, aside from the odd thing here and there. So there's been no clashes yet. I work closely with the Sylosis manager. I always let him know what Bleed has coming up, and he lets me know, you know, before anything's confirmed. He'll be like, are you busy on this day? Or if we're going to do festivals, we'll try and line it up so we're on separate days and I can stay and do the next one, or we're on the same day but far enough apart. Like, yeah, it's when I said yes to Sylosis ages ago, I think in my head I just kind of went, fuck it. At first I was like, it's not going to work, we'll be too busy. And then when I thought about it more, I was like, fucking loads of people do this, I'm going to try it. And it's worked out all right.
Oh yeah,
very fortunate.
I feel like that fuck it mentality, like, is something that you need sometimes. Like when we started doing interviews, it was that fuck it mentality. We were like, because we'd thought about it for ages, and we'd sit there and we'd be like so like genuinely so nervous to message bands, and like one day we just went, all right, fuck it, and like obviously now we're here, but I feel like it's good to have that fuck it mentality.
Yeah, definitely. You need to just go for it sometimes, man. I think as long as you make sure you're cover all your bases and then go, right, you know what, I'm gonna have a crack at this. And if it doesn't work, you can say you've tried, So that was definitely my mentality doing that, and it's obviously worked for you guys as well. So
yeah.
Right.
So like on the subject of drumming, like who was the first, like what sort of inspired you to become a drummer? Like who was someone who inspired you musically or in any sort of sense?
I used to play clarinet before I played drums, which is
really
very non-metal. Yeah, clarinet and a bit of bass and guitar, dabbled in tiny wee bit, and then clarinet, and then I think a mate got a drum kit. One of my old mates from school got a kit, and I think I'd sort of messed about on it a couple of times, but nothing was really clicking. But I kind of liked the idea at that point. That's when I started thinking, oh, you know what, drums are actually pretty cool. And then there was a guy in school that used to have loads of patches all over his. He had like one of those fucking, what do you call them, battle jackets or whatever.
Yeah,
patches on his bag and all that, and they're just huddles of Pantera patches, and they just looked like cool patches. And I was like, fucking, at the time I thought weed was so cool, man. Fucking huddles of hash leaves everywhere. So I remember going back onto LimeWire or something and illegally downloading some Pantera.
Fucking LimeWire.
I heard fucking Hostile for the first time. And that was literally the light bulb moment. As soon as I heard Vinnie Paul, that changed everything. And from that day onwards, it was just, I want to be a drummer from that song. So yeah, Vinnie Paul, R.I.P. Definitely changed it for me, and opened my eyes to the world of drumming. Chris Adler was a big influence in the early days. Lamb of God, obviously, As the Palaces Burn and Ashes of the Wake, just two pivotal albums for metal, I think. The shape of metal and what it became. And then Mario from Gojira after that was kind of the next person who came along that I was like, fucking just totally blew my mind. Alongside that, I was always a big fan of Incubus and Tool. So like Danny Carey and Jose Paselius, they kind of influenced what I was doing, which kind of, I think, gave me a slightly different approach to just the straight up sort of thrash beat, blast beat thing, in terms of trying to make more unique fills and stuff. I tried to incorporate some of that. And then when I saw Mario, I feel like when I got into Gojira and really started watching his playing was when I really started to enjoy my playing more and be more in the present and be in the moment, which for ages I'd always beat myself up and be like, I have to be the best I can possibly be. And I was always so rigid with it. Whereas like now, if you come and see us play, there's a smile, just smiling from ear to ear and fucking loving life and just, being in that moment, rehearsing well enough so that you can enjoy the show. And I think it was pretty much him that turned me on to that way of thinking.
Yeah, I love that, to be fair, because I've saw you guys in Manchester with Ingested, and I also saw you at Bloodstock as well. Like, and one thing that I've just really appreciated is like how much you can tell you guys just love being up there, and just there's so much passion and gratitude. And yeah, I think you put on some killer performances, and so I was very lucky to see you guys twice in the same year. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's it, man. We're just immensely grateful and humble for those opportunities. Like you said, I think to be 17 years into the career and to be having the progression that we're having now, do you know what I mean? Like Bleed's kind of gone like this for fucking years. And I think a lot of people probably wrote us off a few years ago, and now we're coming back and going from strength to strength, and things are lining up for us, and it's going well, Obviously we're still grounded, we stay humble, we just keep working hard and, stay in our own lane and do our thing. But those moments where you go on stage and it's a sold out crowd and it's your crowd, or you're on main stage at a festival or something, it's like, we are fucking grateful to be there, and to anyone that watches us and parties with us on that stage during that time is part of the family for sure.
Oh yeah, right. I think me and Brad both went to see you at Bloodstock, and I honestly, the performance was incredible, man. I think every single band as well, like, sort of brought the role onto that, but Yous were probably like one of the most standout bands for me. Coming back from Bloodstock, I just thought your performance was so well done, and there wasn't any like sort of feeling that you know, like there were no passion to it. Like you could feel the passion between all of you when you were playing, and it really fed through for your music and your performance. So yeah, I think you guys put on some of the best performances I've seen for a while.
Thanks, mate.
And I was like dying at the time as well because it was Sunday, and I was just
Yeah,
I'm laying on the floor,
Oh.
dehydrated. Feel sure I've got sunstroke, and then as soon as I heard the first note, I was like, right, I'm in. Let's
It's
go.
time to go.
Yeah, Brad was in a bad way at Bloodstock. I've
Yeah,
got so many like clips of him looking drip white with sunstroke.
Yeah, I know the feeling, man. You know, fellow ginger. Are you ginger?
Yeah.
You got some ginger.
I'm
Your
blonde,
beard?
but my beard goes a bit ginger during like the summertime. So like a
Yeah,
bit of a
well,
chameleon, it changes colour.
Yeah, fellow ginger here. I've done the full weekend at a festival, drinking every day in the sun, and yeah, when it gets to that Sunday, man, it's not a good time to be you or me.
Yeah, I'd sit in the medical tent and they had like fans around me. I was just like, all right, this is cool. I'm
Oh.
bored now.
Brutal.
Oh yeah, it was. To be fair, I think like everyone went a bit too hard at Bloodstock. Our mate Caleb will probably be watching the like the ginger part because he's also ginger and being like, finally someone said it, because he was suffering because he broke his back as well. That was
Fucking hell.
yeah, it was horrific, and he still managed to walk home like after Bloodstock, and then went to like the hospital like 2 days later. And then like they're like, you've got a break in your back, mate.
How the fuck did he break his back in? What happened?
So like for the video version, I think Brad's gonna have to put like the video up. But
Right, okay.
basically what happened, so one of our mates, Griff, a song came on and Galen went, let's do the dirty dancing move.
No.
Mate, they fucking nailed it. No, they actually nailed the move.
It doesn't sound like they did, I'll be honest. It sounds like they made an ass of it.
No, they nailed the move, right? It's like after, like, Griff like goes to put Caleb around his like that bite down, but Caleb's drunk and he just like goes into like for like a bear hug. So he like wraps his like legs around him, and like Griff loses his footing and then just slams straight into Caleb's hip, and his back just bent, and yeah, that's where the break happened.
Oh.
So yeah, mate.
Yeah,
I was
gross.
like the video. I'm on like the other side of it, and I actually saw the back bend. And I for a second we were like, "Oh, he's gonna get up," and then like he kind of like turned, and we could tell he was actually hurt. And like, "Oh shit, he's actually like really hurt." But then like the rest of the festival, he played it off as if like he wasn't in any pain, and we're like, "Oh, he must have just been like." Like
I kind of think I know why.
Yeah, and then like 2 days later, he was like, "Boys, I broke my back." I was like, "Fucking hell!"
That's absolutely wild, man. What a fucking trooper for carrying on there.
Well, he carried his tent and everything back home as well. Like I was there, like, how has he managed to do that?
That's where the damage would have been done, guaranteed.
Oh yeah. Well, they said that he had like almost, I think, three fractured vertebrae and like one break or something along those lines. And when he said, "Oh, I walked home," they're like, "You walked home." So yeah, it was pretty bad.
Oh, cheers to that guy. That's what a fucking
cheers. So I know that in your spare time, you know, craft beer is one of your passions. You've started a craft beer Instagram. You guys have got a Bleed From Within collab with Overtone. So what would you say is like your ideas for brewing in the future? Like, do you something that you're cooking up in the moment, or something that you'd like to do? Like, would you do like a stout, IPA, fruity one? What would you want to do?
I can't believe you're bringing this up where I'm drinking a fucking Estrella.
Estrella is the best economical one, to be honest. Like, if you can afford back to a normal one.
The craft beer aficionados in the comments are going to be going fucking tonto at this. Yeah, craft beer. I fucking love it. It's funny you mentioned the Instagram page thing. So I'd been joking about that for like, it wasn't even my idea. I think it was actually Stephen, the guitarist, that was like, you should totally do a review page for craft beer. And he just started, whenever I posted about beer, he would just send me a message with @Ali Drinks Cans. Little fly plug there as well. And he just messaged me and he's like, you have to get this. So eventually I was like, right, fuck it, I'll just get the profile. So I've got it. And then I think it was only last week where I was like, you know what? I've got like 12 or 13 beers that there's a great craft beer shop next to me in Brighton called Seven Cellars. And I go there every week and I'll just buy like one can, maybe two cans. One of them I'll drink and one I like to save. And I'm like, I'll save that for a rainy day. And I've got fucking loads of them. And I was like, right, you know what? I'm going to start going through this now, can a week. Or two cans at the weekend, you can post it through the week or whatever. And actually start, number them and try and get into the hop profiles and start see what you're meant to be tasting. Like, it's just, yeah, purely as a hobby. And whenever I go anywhere, whenever we travel to another country, man, whenever we go to Europe, I'll be like, right, craft beer bar or bottle shop, or what's the best bar for beer in this city? And that's where I go towards, you know what I mean? And the rest of the guys don't have a problem with that. They'll humour me and be like, oh, fucking Ali's on a mission again to try and find a great beer bar. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, this place is amazing.
Yeah.
So I love craft beer. It's fucking brilliant. In the UK, we've got a great selection. And yes, we will do another collab with Overtone again. I think we'll probably have a long and fruitful friendship / relationship with them. Just because they're Glasgow based and they are one of the best craft breweries in the country at the moment. And I'm not just saying that because they're Glasgow, and I'm not just saying that because they've done the stuff with Bleed. Anyone that knows their onions will know that they are fucking great at what they do. So yeah, we are going to do a Shrine beer that will come out. I don't think anyone's going to be particularly surprised to find that out. I'm not sure when it will be released, but we have been discussing what we'd like to do. So that will happen at some point.
I'll keep my eyes out.
I'd love to make a whiskey. That's the thing for me. The next mission is try and find a company that will do as a whiskey. We'll need to see how that pans out.
Oh yeah, that'll be cool though. A nice bleed from within whiskey.
Definitely.
You got to make sure that it's Scottish. Got to make sure it's a Scottish company because we know that.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
I've noticed like Japanese have gotten into whiskey, and
some of the Japanese stuff is.
Mate,
really
I know. I had some. I was there like, this is like top tier stuff. I can't remember the name of it, but I was like, this is actually really nice.
There's a few of them. You've got Nika from the Barrow, and then you've got like it's brewed by that Sapporo company. I'm not even going to embarrass myself by trying to remember. But there's 2 of them that are amazing, that are quite sort of readily available in the UK, and then Nika from the Barrow as well. So those are the kind of 3. But when we went to Japan, so I've been there twice, once with a band I was filling in for, and then Bleed went over. And I think it was when Bleed were there, obviously because it was a Scottish band, our guide was like, you have to come to this bar, and took us to this bar that just had the most insane selection of Japanese whiskey. And, they were honoured that we were there and Scottish people, and they were letting us sample all these different ones. And it was just
amazing.
It was another level, man, because the water's just so pure over there as well. So they just got their distillation process down to a T, and it was amazing. Like, I'm quite into my whiskies as well. I don't know half as much as I know about craft beer, but I'm slowly getting there and trying to educate myself on some whiskies. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for a Bleed from Within one in the future. I'm sure we'll make that happen.
Oh yeah, mate, I'm excited to see it. Obviously, you spoke about the original collab that you did, but I want to kind of go into the original a bit more, and like, how did that sort of come about? Who approached who? What was the sort of like process like for actually like making your own beer?
So the first time we did a craft beer was with a company called Drygate that are based in Glasgow as well. They're kind of like the craft beer arm of Tennent's. So I think they're part owned by Tennent's. They've got a great bar and restaurant. If you're ever in Glasgow, you should go and visit Drygate. It's fucking great. So there was a guy that was a fan of the band there, that worked in the brewery side, but a friend of ours was the restaurant manager. So I was largely inspired by like Deftones with Belching Beaver. Opeth had beers out. Mastodon had beers out. It wasn't a new thing, obviously, but with how much we all loved our craft beer, it was like, I'm going to try and make this work. So I reached out to our friend Danny Sue. I was like, do you have a contact for somebody in the brewery? She gave me this guy's contact at Drygate, and we exchanged a few emails. And it happened like really quickly. They were like massive fans of the band. They were like, oh, we listen to you guys and listen to you guys when we're brewing the beers and stuff. And we were like, holy shit, did this just happen over the course of like 2 emails? So we did that one. That was like a Blood Orange IPA. And I think that came out in like 2018, the end of 2018. So we did that, and it was a really small batch. We only did like 250 litres, I think, or something. We took a couple of cases to Bloodstock when we were like high up on the Sophie Lancaster stage. I think we took some to another show that we were doing. And then that was it for a while. And then when Fracture came out, I really wanted to do something special for Fracture. Obviously, a really successful album for us up to that point. And I asked the guy that worked at Drygate if he wanted to do another one, but he was no longer working there. and he recommended Overtone. And at the time, I obviously knew who Overtone were, but I just thought that was unachievable and just unattainable. I was like, man, they're fucking really going places and doing shit. And it was so funny, man. Reached out to them, and their response back was just, "Aye, mate, we'd love to. You guys are class." And we were like, "What?" So we jumped on it's quite funny actually, because Kaylee, their marketing manager, she organised a call with me and the head of sales. And they got me on a call and basically made me do this sales pitch that I'd already kind of put in an email. And then kind of when the sales pitch was done, they were like, "Oh, we were going to say aye anyway, but we just wanted to hear you chat a bit of shit." You know what I mean?
Awesome.
And it started for there. And they're such a great team, such a small team, but so good at what they do. So dedicated, man. You've got like fucking new beers every week, essentially, coming out of there. And we got them down to they've done 2 brews of Fracture now, and I think it's like 2,500 litres each time. They've got it in kegs. They sent it around the country. It was really popular in Glasgow. The first one sold out in no time. The second batch went quickly as well. And when we were talking about doing Shrine, it was their suggestion to be like, "Oh, you know, should we do another one?" sort of thing. And was like, "Let's fucking do it." Aye. So yeah, really excited to continue to work with them and just build. It'd be nice to have like a collection of maybe 6 beers or something, and then at some point release like a Bleed from Within pack and sell.
That'd be really cool.
Stuff like that.
That'd be really cool.
I'm sure we're going to be working together for quite a while, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's just so cool that, you know, there's a lot of like craft beer places that are just like huge metalheads, and they love like the bands approaching them and they want to collab doing it that way. I think they go hand in hand in some ways, because like a lot of metalheads love drinking like craft beer, and I think people brewing the craft beer also happen to be fans, because I've heard a lot of stories of like that being the reason, because they're like generally more excited than even the band sometimes to get that collaboration going.
It's mad. Like I've already had like since the whole Overtone thing, and especially with Overtone because they've like really well known in the craft beer scene. I've had about 3 or 4 messages from other breweries in the UK being like, "Would love to collab with you," and some of them are fucking great. But I'm like, we've got that thing with Overtone now, and they're Scottish, they're from Glasgow. I'm like, yeah, Overtone are our, you know, that's our folk. We kind of need to stay with them. But I'm sure we might branch out at some point and do something with another brewery somewhere in the UK. There's been some great ones that have reached out, and it's just a cool thing to do. Do you know what I mean? We don't make any money from it either. Like that's not why we're in this. We We donated like a share of the profits that were made to a couple of charities off the first brew of Fracture, but that wasn't like we asked the brewery if they would do that, because the sort of flip around is you guys make a beer, we'll put our name on it. We just want free beer, basically, and we want to we want to take it on tour, and we just want to celebrate it with this. That in itself is cool, because the margins on profits on expensive beers like that especially are actually quite small, so it's only fair that the brewery gets to keep them. And yeah, in that sense, we're just happy to have something with the band name on it and something we're all passionate about, and get some free fucking Kansas at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, as well. Nice. Like, you know, it's something like, I feel like it's something very, very unique to have as well. Going, you know, like I imagine, like obviously, if you went to like a family member, like, "I've got my own beer," there you go. They'd be like, "Oh shit," you know what I mean? Because like it's like anything to do like merch anyway. When you've actually got something physical with like your band name on it, or any sort of thing, you're like, "Oh, yeah, this is sick. This feels," because it's something real. Where you're like, this is fucking ace. Like, so
definitely. And if it's somebody that's into craft beer, like when I went up to the place in Brighton, they actually got some of my beer in there, sort of thing. So I went up one day and I was with my girlfriend, and we walked in and I saw the can of Fracture in the fridge, and I looked at the missus and I was like, fucking I'm looking at the guy behind the bar, the counter that knows me, obviously, because I'm in there every week. And I'm looking at the guy and I'm looking at the missus and I'm pointing at the can. Like,
see this?
I was like, I'm going to say something. She's like, "Oh, fucking hell, please don't." Do you know what I mean? I was like, "Mate, do you sell a lot of these?" He's like, "Yeah, they're actually really popular." And I was like, "That's quite funny you should say that, because that's my band."
Yeah, I feel like I need to get like the Shrine vinyl, get like, you know, whenever the next Bleed from Within beer comes out, just like sit down with the beer, listen to the vinyl, and I'm like, balance, as all things should be.
Oh mate, that'll be a fucking dreamy day. That's when we're actually we'll get it scheduled for that. Our vinyl doesn't come out until like September, October, because everyone's fucking vinyls are delayed. Yeah. So yeah, we'll probably have the beer come out about that time so that people can do exactly that.
Yeah,
right,
I love that.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, we are sort of coming to the end point of the interview now. One way that we always like to leave it is, what advice would you give to a new musician starting out, and what advice would you give to your younger self as well?
Fucking hell, it gives me actual palpitations thinking about starting a new band in this day and age. There are just so many fucking acts. It's quite overwhelming, I think. So yeah, respect to anyone that's going out there and starting a new band in this day and age. What advice would I give? Man, there's so much. I think educate yourself as best you possibly can. Like we are self-managed. It's me that manages the band now. We've been through our highs and lows, and I guess telling my younger self is the same thing that I would tell like the band that's just starting, sort of thing. And it would be, educate yourself as best you can, and don't be afraid to ask questions and ask why and ask what, and what does this mean and what will this do for us. And I think a great piece of advice as well is like getting lawyers involved. Basically, a lawyer will always be involved at some point in the process, but do you want them to come in at the end and fix it when it's fucked, or do you want them to set out the ground rules so that it doesn't get that way? So invest in a small bit of money at the start to maybe just get, set the foundations of your business or your company or your contract will, it'll really pay off in the future. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask the questions, stay true to yourself, write music that you love, genuinely love. And try and stay present in the moment. Like I mentioned at the start of this interview, I think really enjoy what it is you're doing, because it will pass you by. We've been doing this for fucking 17 years now, which is more than half my adult life, which is fucking terrifying. And I feel like the first maybe decade of my career, I just wasn't really taking it in. And that's kind of changed in recent years. So yeah, enjoy it, stay true to yourself, ask the questions, and good luck.
Oh yeah. No, honestly, your guys' passion is truly inspiring, to be honest, and I think it feeds through from the music as well. Can't wait to see the reaction to Shrine, because if they're gonna love it as much as me and Nathan, I'm sure they will. It's fucking amazing, and
Fingers crossed.
It's really a testament to you guys' sound and how much how far you guys have come from then to now. So yeah, honestly, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with us.
I really enjoyed that, man. It was a great chat. Interviews can be a bit dry sometimes, but this was not dry.
Thank you. Thank you.
That means so much.
We always try to make it just feel like more of a chat more than anything.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's fun, man. Like obviously press campaigns go on for however many months, and this has just been great as well. Just in general, that this sort of run, I think the album's got some good vibes and everyone's kind of having a good time with it. So yeah, it's not been as bad this time, but this interview in particular was a great laugh. So thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
No worries. It's been great having you on. Like Brad said, me and him have been fans of yours for quite a while now. So when we got the opportunity to even get you on, like we were both freaking out over Facebook messages, going, "Oh, it could happen!
Well, I'll make sure you guys, when Shrine Beer comes out, right, make sure you get some of that and let me know what you think. But maybe we'll meet up at a show or something. We can go and find a wee craft beer bar. Where is it you're based? Where are you guys based?
Leeds. Yeah.
Leeds. Right, I should have guessed. But you've got Northern Monk, right? That's in Leeds.
Yeah,
well, Northern Monk.
It's funny that you say that meet up for a beer, because me and Brad have had a beer crawl of almost every single craft beer bar in Leeds. We were shit-faced afterwards, but we now know the good ones.
Yeah. Good. Well, next time we're in Leeds, right, you can keep me right, and I'd love to meet you boys for a beer for sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I'd love to meet you for a beer as well.
Class.
Yeah, listen to Shrine when it comes out if you're listening now, and check out the craft beer Instagram as well. We'll be keeping note of that too.
Amazing. Cheers, guys.
No worries.
Cheers. Thank you very much.